How is it going, everyone? I hope you are all having a good Saturday. I am having an awesome Saturday because I just saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it was awesome. And I can't wait to unbox the Pops and review the movie. So yeah, I'm not actually going to unbox the Pops except the one in the Collector's Court box because I'm going to show that off too. But yeah, so I'll do my normal unboxing and then review the movie after I talk about the Pops. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Definitely was a Spider-Man fan's dream, and I can't wait to talk about the Pops. So first, we'll just start with the two villains that we have. So first off, we have Medieval Vulture. So he was the first villain we obviously saw in the film, and when the Super Collider did its thing in the first movie in Into the Spider-Verse, it sent other people to dimensions they didn't belong to. And Medieval Vulture was sent to Spider-Gwen's Earth. And so her, Spider-Man 2099, and Spider-Woman all teamed up to stop Medieval Vulture. But yeah, so obviously he's from medieval times, I think. I don't really know when, because it looked like, to me, like this. Like a jetpack or something. And he did breathe fire, too. So, I don't necessarily know exactly when he was from. But I think it was from the medieval times. Because, obviously, the kind of wooden frame. The wooden, things he's using to fly. The little hand things that he's using to fly. Would obviously indicate that he is from, Sorry, just moving my phone back. So, obviously would... we would come to the conclusion that he is from another universe. I mean, not another universe, but just like old times. So yeah, so this is when Spider-Gwen finds out about, the Spider Society Miguel O'Hara put together to stop the multiverse from collapsing. So yeah, so that's Medieval Vulture. He's not in the movie for all that long, but he is semi-important. But then obviously we have the more important villain in the spot. So, I don't remember the doctor's name exactly, his actual name. But basically what happened is he was there when Spider-Man blew up the collider at the end of Into the Spider-Verse. And there was an accident that caused him to obviously gain these holes that basically turned him into portals, could make him shoot portals places and, go be in multiple places at once. And so then, he couldn't make a living, obviously. His family didn't want to see him anymore. Becoming the Spot ruined his life. So he decided to turn to crime to sustain himself. But then obviously he fights Peter and declares Peter as Miles. Sorry. There's so many spider people in this movie, I can't even keep them all straight. Anyway, so he basically declares Miles to be his arch nemesis. Oh, you're my arch nemesis. And wants to become more powerful. So he finds out that he can travel the multiverse through his portals. And then he goes to Spider-Man India's universe and uses the whatever it is, the collider there, and becomes even more powerful. And his goal is to take away everything Miles loves. So we learn later on that the Spot is going to kill his dad, Jefferson Davis, in 2 days from then. And so, Miles wants to go back home to stop him, but obviously doesn't. We'll talk about that when we talk about Miles. But yeah, that's the Spot for you. So basically, the cliffhanger ending is that he is in, Spider and Miles' universe and is about to kill his dad, and that's a canon event. It's basically an event that happens to all Spider-Man that has to happen, and if it doesn't, the universe will break. Kind of like an incursion in Doctor Strange. That's basically the thing in Doctor Strange, that if this thing doesn't happen, like in Endgame, when the Ancient One talked about that if Doctor Strange doesn't get the Time Stone, Dormammu takes over Earth and destroys Earth. It's kind of like that. Some things just in the Spider-Man lore have to happen, or else the world will get destroyed. And we'll talk about that when we get to Spider-Man 2099 as well. But yeah, so those are the two villains, Medieval Vulture and the Spot. I like the more darker, evil version of the Spot. I wonder if that will be a pop, either later on or in the next movie. But yeah, so that's the Spot. Now let's get into the various spider peoples before we get into our main spider peoples. So first off, we have the Scarlet Spider, voiced by Andy Samberg. So obvious, kind of fitting with Andy Samberg's, whatever, his persona. He's always like, in a deep voice, and like, I have big muscles, and I am doing this, So yeah, he didn't really have that big of a role in the movie. I mean, he had a decent role, but it wasn't huge or anything. But yeah, obviously this is Ben Reilly. He's a clone of Peter Parker. And his suit, is the torn up jacket with the utility belt, the web shooters. I don't know if they put the little, thing that they can time travel with, the time travel watch on. But yeah, so that's Scarlet Spider. It was a Walmart exclusive as well. And he's voiced by Andy Samberg, so that was pretty fun. Again, he doesn't have a huge role in this movie, but he does have a pretty decent role. So next up, we'll get to another kind of minor-ish character in Spider-Bite. So she is an avatar. So the real Spider-Bite is doing VR in her parents' house, which is kind of funny but kind of weird. But yeah, she's kind of responsible for the machine that sends people back to their universes, the various spider people. And she, she sends Miles back, but unknowingly sends Miles back to the wrong universe because the spider that bit him wasn't from his universe. And so, yeah. But the pop itself is cool. They really got this 8-bit, looking spider theme going. Obviously, she has the skinny arms, the cool spider logo, the 8-bit hair. But, yeah, that's Spider-Bite. She was basically just in charge of that machine. She didn't play, again, she was kind of like Scarlet Spider, didn't play an absolutely massive role in the film, but still a decent role. Yeah, so next up, we'll go Spider-Punk, Hobie Brown. So he was pretty chill, He really didn't want that much. It seemed like he didn't want that much to do with everything that was going on. But yeah, he's really good friends with, I can't even think of her name, Gwen. He's really good friends with Gwen. They go on, a dozen missions together, I think he says. And he's obviously the one that smashes the barrier in between, the various spider people and the Spot in Spider-Man India's universe. But yeah, he's just, obviously he likes, punk rock. That's why he's called Spider-Punk. He has the horns, But he was voiced pretty well, and I really liked him. He wasn't a character who, again, had a pretty big role, but not a massive one. But he was still pretty fun to listen to. I'm not going to lie, because of how fast some of the characters talk, I didn't understand some of what he was saying. He kind of spoke pretty fast. Daniel Kaluuya, I know, did the voice acting, and he did a really good job, but he kind of spoke fast, so I didn't necessarily understand a lot of what he said, but I got most of it. So, anyway. So, yeah, so that's Spider-Punk. So, we'll move these three out of the way. So, yeah. So, those are some three main side characters. So, and then next up is Spider-Man India. So, obviously, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to attempt to or even pretend like I know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Spider-Man India. So, basically, they find the Spot in his universe, and, when Gwen goes to confront the Spot, Miles follows, and he, ends up in their universe where, Spider-Man India shows him around, and then, they end up trying to stop the Spot, and he ends up saving his girlfriend and his girlfriend's dad. But we learn later that his girlfriend's dad was actually supposed to die, and that by Miles saving his girlfriend's dad, that universe was going to be ruined, basically, was going to be destroyed. Because it wasn't supposed to happen. And that's a canon event is what they call it. But yeah, he was really funny. I really liked the voice actor for Spider-Man India. And this honestly, out of all the costumes, I think this was one of the best. This honestly might have been, besides besides Spider-Man 2099, this was probably my second favorite costume in the whole movie. I really dig the suit. I dig the colors. Spider-Man India. Really good character. I don't know if we'll see him again because his universe might get destroyed. But I know Spider-Man 2099 said they could stop it if, they did it in time. So that's Spider-Man India. Next up is Jessica Drew, a.k.a. Spider-Woman. So obviously she shows up at the beginning of the movie, and she is pregnant, obviously. Doesn't, know if it's going to be a boy or a girl. But she shows up, and she's basically on the elite squad. She's one of the main leaders on the elite squad that Miguel put together to stop the multiverse from going insane. Stop the multiverse from breaking. But anyway, so her costume, it's very reminiscent of Spider-Woman costume from the comics. You got the little triangle thing, the yellow goggles. She's got the big afro hair, which I think is really fun. But obviously, like the red boots. And yeah, all that. I liked her costume. And her voice acting was pretty good. But yeah, she's basically just there to kind of be Miguel's right-hand woman. And there to help him with what he needs. And she's also kind of in charge of Gwen. She puts, she gives Gwen crap and checks in with her, makes sure everything is going well. Yeah, so she's kind of, I guess, Gwen's mentor in a degree. Not as much as Peter B. Parker and Miles from the first movie, from Into the Spider-Verse, but I would see her as a little bit of Gwen's mentor. But yeah, so that's Spider-Woman for you, Jessica Drew. And I'm excited to see more of where it goes, more of what happens with Spider-Woman. But now we'll go into, I would say, the main characters of this movie. So we'll start with the glow-in-the-dark 2099 Spider-Man. Sadly, it's light outside. I wanted to do this review right after I got out of the movie because I haven't been able to do that because the last few movies, I've probably been too super late or the pops haven't arrived until after the movie or I've done it the day after. But I wanted to do this right when the movie was fresh on my mind. So this is Miguel O'Hara, obviously. So he has the skull logo. He has the overtly huge spikes on his arms. And this one does glow in the dark too, which I'm excited to see out of the box. But yeah, so Miguel's story is that a Miguel in a different universe died. And so he found this universe where he was happy, where he was with his family, and he was happy because he really didn't feel happy in whatever universe he was in before. I don't think it explains his actual, my voice cracked, sorry. I don't think it explains his actual origins, but yeah, so he finds this universe, but he was supposed to die in that universe. So basically that universe is destroyed because of what he did, because he decided to change a canon event in that universe. And so he ended up destroying that universe. And then he realized that he didn't want this to happen anymore. So he needed to get rid of anomalies. And he needed to, get rid of those people that would change canon events and would destroy the multiverse. So he basically set out, got an elite task force to help him with this. And then obviously, he tells, after Miles goes to this place, Miguel tells him that his dad is going to die and it's a canon event. And so, obviously, Miles escapes and he chases him, but Miles gets away. And so now his goal is to hunt down Miles to ensure that he doesn't save his dad and destroy the multiverse from collapsing. So yeah, he was voiced by, I'm so happy, by Oscar Isaac, who did an amazing job. I love Oscar Isaac here. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see the shirt a little better. But yeah, so he was voiced by Oscar Isaac, who did an absolutely phenomenal job. And this was probably my favorite costume in the whole movie. I love the costume. I love the color scheme. I love the 2099 design. And yeah, so he's basically in charge of this elite spider society. And he is now, probably in the next movie, going to track down Miles and try to stop him from saving his dad. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. But yeah, so that is Spider-Man 2099, and that is his story. And yeah, he was a really, really, really good character. I really want an unmasked version of him. Honestly, I don't know. I hope we get an unmasked 2099 Pop at some point. But anyway, let's get into the two main characters of the movie. So, first off, we have Spider-Gwen. So before I do that, we'll just unbox the Collector Core box. Because, I already know what's in here. So we have the shirt, obviously. Sorry, I didn't show that off as much. We have the shirt with Miles and Gwen on it. You know, Miles' new suit and Gwen. You know, so that's cool. I've already said I don't really collect the boxes for the pins and whatnot. But yeah, we have this kind of old card. We have the... Excuse me. But we have a sticker and the 2099 pin, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so we'll get into the Pops. The Pops are obviously what I, am most, anticipating when I get these Collector Core boxes. So, while I'm unboxing Spider-Gwen, I'll talk about her. So, basically we learn, and this was such an interesting thing, to me. So we basically learned that in her universe, Peter Parker took the green liquid and became Lizard. Like, how? Like, what? That's so zany. That's so, like, Peter Parker becoming Lizard? Like, what? Like, that sounds just so just insane. That's just crazy. You would never think in any universe that Peter Parker would become Spider-Man. But, so she's at a college party, or a dance or something. I don't necessarily know her age. But she's at a party. Peter shows up as Lizard. She stops him, but Peter ends up dying in the process. And so, Peter was really good friends with Gwen Stacy and her dad. And her dad's was the chief of police as well. So, obviously, Gwen's dad thinks that Gwen killed Peter because she reveals her identity to her dad. And then she keeps on being Spider-Woman. And then, obviously, once, she meets 2099 Spider-Man and Jessica Drew, she joins the Elite Spider Society. And she's sent to Miles' universe to stop him from doing what he's doing so he doesn't destroy the multiverse. But she goes and visits Miles even though she isn't supposed to and drags Miles into it. And basically that's where the story picks up. That's where, their stories collide. She's sent to Spider-Man India's universe, and she knows that Spider-Man India's girlfriend's dad, it's a lot to say, has to die to ensure that universe's survival. It's a canon event. And she tries to stop Miles, but Miles ends up saving him anyway. And so she, obviously goes back to the Spider-Man headquarters in Nueva York with, Miles and Spider-Punk. And, basically all the story unfolds. Everything is revealed to Miles. And it's basically revealed that Gwen knew about his father's death, that his father was going to die, and basically knew everything. She had already been told everything and just withheld that information from Miles. So obviously he gets, understandably, he gets upset and, says, he wished they had never met or she had never come back. But yeah, she then feels guilty, obviously, and then she gets sent back home because she, obviously, she shows Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, that she can't, be trusted anymore or whatever. Oh, sorry. Just a bit tired. But anyway, she shows Miguel that she can't be trusted. So she's sent back home. Her and her dad make, restitution. They forgive each other and whatnot. Her dad ends up quitting the police force. And yeah, so then Hobie, Spider-Punk, left his watch traveling thing. And so she gathers all the people from Into the Spider-Verse and some of the people she met in Across the Spider-Verse to find Miles, because they don't know what universe Miles was sent to. Obviously when she goes to Miles' universe, finds out he's not there, and then she's getting a team together to find him. So yeah, I will honestly say that this movie almost felt as much Gwen's movie as it did Miles. Like, the first one was obviously had the focus on Miles, with Gwen being a main but still secondary character. But she honestly feels right there with Miles as being being a main character. So obviously it's a continuation of her story from the first movie as well. But we have her suit, with the hood, the pink and black and white, with the blue tennis shoes. Obviously this is her unmasked that I have, with the pink hair, hood down. I didn't notice that detail. You can see that hood is down. But yeah, so that is Spider-Gwen, voiced by the awesome actress Haley Steinfeld, who did a good job. The voice acting in this movie was also great, by the way. Spot, when I first heard him in the trailer, was a little weird, but now I like the voice actor. I like how he played Spot. Yeah, all the voice actors were great, but especially, Haley Steinfeld, Shameik Moore, and Oscar Isaac did a great job. But speaking of, now we get to our boy, Miles Kilometers Morales. No, just kidding. I'm just being dumb. We get to our boy Miles. So, obviously, he has been Spider-Man for a little over a year now. And he's just being Spider-Man. And he finds Spot and, confronts Spot. And then Spot tells him what he did to him and declares him his nemesis. So then Gwen comes along to obviously stop the Spot. But Gwen visits Miles, even though she's not supposed to visit Miles. And, he follows her to where Spot's hideout was. And then he goes on the adventure with her. I kind of already have described this adventure before. I've already kind of described it, so I don't think I need to describe it anymore. But anyway, so he goes, on this adventure. But the big thing that happens is when he's sent back to his own universe. So obviously he finds out that he is the first anomaly because the spider that bit him was from another universe. So that universe didn't get their Spider-Man. So obviously that universe's DNA is encoded in him. So when he's sent back to Earth 42 instead of 1610. And that universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. And so he is basically tells his mom he's Spider-Man, and his mom is like, what? Like, that's funny. Like, that's all character you go dressed as the Comic-Con. But, we obviously find out that that it's not his universe, that he is in the wrong universe, and we find out some pretty crucial information about Earth 42. First off, his parents, Spider-Man doesn't exist in that universe. That's the big one. 2 is that Uncle Aaron lives in that universe but isn't the Prowler. And number 3, the big reveal, Miles Morales is Prowler in that universe. Whoa. When he's like, you don't have to be the Prowler, Uncle Aaron, and Uncle Aaron's like, I'm not. Turns him around, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, that's Miles. That's 110% Miles. But Miles is Prowler in Earth 42. And so, obviously, Miles has to escape to save his dad in his own universe, and Gwen is going looking for him. But yeah, so the movie ended on a cliffhanger, obviously, and that was a big cliffhanger, is that he is in Earth 42 with no help, and he has to fight a version of himself. We're probably going to see really good fight between I want to call him Kilometers Morales because I do it all the time as a joke, between this Miles and Prowler Miles. So yeah, so those are the pops. His new suit's cool too. It has the red things running down the side. His Venom power is blue, like it's going to be in the game, by the way. And I don't know if Najee Jeter's Miles from the games ever showed up. But that would be interesting to find out if he did. But yeah, the new Spider-Man logo, it's more pointy, I guess you could say, more sharp and jagged, rather than round like his first suit was. But yeah, he went on a crazy journey. And this movie was just wild. It was insane. All the spider people, everything. So, yeah. Okay, so we have all the pops. Now, I would like to review the movie. So, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Almost perfect, but of course I had my gripes. So, I'll get those out of the way. So, first and foremost, my biggest problem with this movie is that I felt a lot of people were speaking way too fast. So it was kind of hard to understand. It was kind of hard to keep up with sometimes too, because people were just like bounce off each other constantly and talk. So the dialogue felt a little rushed and forced instead of slower and more, not laid back, but like just more evenly paced out. So that was probably my biggest problem, is that this movie it wasn't the pacing that felt bad, but the dialogue just felt too fast. So it felt like keeping up with some stuff was a little too hard. The next one was the cliffhanger ending. It's not much of a problem, as it is. Obviously, just the story feels incomplete. It doesn't feel like, we're not gonna get an end to the story until the next movie. And as much as I, am excited, I don't want to wait that long. I think it's supposed to come out next year in like March or something, but I don't want to wait that long. Anyway, let's see. Did I have any other problems? Not really. Yeah, besides those two, those were my two biggest problems that bring it down from a 9 to a 10. But yeah, so let's talk about what I do like. So I really like the villain. I like Spot. I think that he is a menace, and I think he's going to be a bigger presence in the next movie than this one. Not that he didn't have a pretty big presence, but I think he's going to be an absolute menace in the next one. And oh boy, I wouldn't be surprised if people die, if a lot of people died in the next movie. I love the Easter eggs, so I kind of want to talk about the Easter eggs that I found. There was Genki was playing Spider-Man PS4. I noticed that. Aaron, what is it? Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, came back as Prowler. He is the Prowler in the MCU. That's what I'm guessing is where he was from, is MCU Prowler. And it was just like he just showed out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa, dude, Donald Glover is Prowler. That's so cool. I know obviously we saw Andrew Garfield's, canon thing where Captain Stacy died. There were obviously references to, Spider-Man quotes, and there were other quotes used by Spider-Men in other movies that were used in this. I know there's one on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it at the moment. Obviously, there was the "Don't even get me started on Doctor Strange," that little nerd back on Earth 199999. Obviously, referring to the events of No Way Home. Obviously, there was Spider-Man from everywhere. I think we got the 1960s Spider-Man. We got Insomniac Spider-Man showed up for like 2 seconds. We got Spectacular Spider-Man. I don't know if he had any voice lines in the movie. Maybe he did. But, yeah, we got a ton of Spider-Man from a ton of different, universes and different recognizable media. So that was cool. But this movie, it just felt so epic. It felt like really an adventure. It felt like we were going on this adventure with Miles. And it's it's the coming of age story for Spider-Man. And it's the ultimate debate of saving those you love versus your responsibilities to, everyone else. So this is obviously, that's one of the big continuous plots to any Spider-Man story. And with him having to decide either to save the multiverse or save his dad, that's a classic Spider-Man dilemma. And I love it. I love when people make things original and stick to what works, because obviously Spider-Man's my favorite fictional character, period. Not just Marvel Universe, but I think Spider-Man is the best fictional character ever written. And that's probably one of the reasons why, is the dilemmas he has to face, obviously. And him being a normal guy, but having this power, so having to deal with that while also dealing with, everything else in Peter Parker's life, but also having to be Spider-Man. And that extends to the multiverse, to every Spider-Man, So yeah, so I really just felt that this movie, it was just epic. Do I think it's better than Into the Spider-Verse? For me, this movie, I guess another problem I have with it is it felt a little too large scale, and there were like a little too many spider people. Like, it was just, Into the Spider-Verse was so much more grounded, and the connections were more there because it wasn't as grandiose as the first one. As Across the Spider-Verse, it was a lot more, grounded. But I mean, that's just a small thing. It was still an awesome movie. It was an amazing movie. I don't have that many complaints about it. And if this is a Spider-Man fan's dream, really. Obviously, I loved the emotional moments. This movie was really emotional, and really it packed a punch. Like, there were a lot of scenes that hit pretty hard. Gwen's background was one of them. Finding out Miles' dad is going to die, the tragic backstory of Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man, and just the overall connection with tragedy and heroism. Out of tragedies, heroes are born. That's kind of the thing that this movie was really trying to emphasize, and that, sometimes those tragedies have to happen for a hero to be born, but without them, it won't happen, or something else will happen. If this person doesn't die, this will happen, and, whatnot. But yeah, overall, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. I loved it. It's my most anticipated movie of the year, and it absolutely delivered. And I cannot wait for the sequel. The sequel is going to be awesome. Getting to see Miles versus Miles, I just don't have words. I don't have words. It's so cool. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse. Sorry, Across the Spider-Verse. And I hope y'all are as pumped as me for the next movie. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the movie, and if you picked up any of these pops as well. And I will see y'all next time. Peace.